Retail/service workers of Reddit. What's the best instant karma you've seen happen to a rude customer? Worked at a telecom in Canada. I'm no longer an employee, thank God. Lady comes in with a broken iPhone, is demanding to get a new one for free. If you don't know, in Canada the iPhone 6 is going for about $400 upfront on a 2-year contract at a minimum $80 plan. She had a good plan, but wanted it for free. She called up our loyalty team in store and spent the next 2 hours screaming at them. Finally, they agree to a deal, and she is getting it for $0. She looks at me and goes, I do not want a case, and Apple Care is a scam. We work on commission, so this essentially meant I was getting nothing and ruining my numbers. She keeps telling me to hurry up through the setup, and I was trying to get them out of the store with everything transferred over and set up. She grabs the phone and starts marching off, saying I was a terrible employee. She gets 3 steps out of the store and drops the phone. Shattered screen and white screen of death. She ran back in asking what I can do. I shrugged and went, sorry, but Apple Care sure would have helped, eh? As a teenager I was working part-time at a convenience store. I was being trained by the late night cashier. This dude comes in and grabs a bunch of cans of vegetables and such, and comes to the counter and stacks the cans in a very specific way, like a weird kind of pyramid on the counter. As the experienced cashier, my trainer takes each can off the pyramid and rings it up. She reaches the end of the stack and we realize that the weirdo has his cock out and has it laying on the counter behind the cans. Without saying a word, the trainer grabs one of the big heavy metal cans of beans and slams it down as hard as she can on the guy's dick. He screamed an incredible scream of searing pain, grabbed his cock, and ran out of the store. She to me, calmly, you get all kinds on the late shift. Standing at the counter of the pizza place I work at, lady storms in and slams a pizza down on the counter. This isn't the fucking pizza I ordered. What the hell are you going to do about? She asked. I look at the pizza, then at my buddy Nick, and turn back to her and say, nothing. She then goes on a long rant telling how we are going to be fired, how stupid and incompetent we were. She actually told me I must be retarded, then asked why the hell we weren't going to do anything. I said because that pizza came from the pizza shop across the street. I think she actually managed to shrink in size and slink out looking so pathetic and beaten I almost felt bad for laughing till tears dripped down my face as she slunk off. Worked at Best Buy 10 or so years ago. This happened on Black Friday. Most of the customers were in bad moods since they'd been waiting hours to come in and stand in more lines. But this one lady was a raging bitch. After yelling at everyone in my department about how she needed the laptop that was on sale despite it being sold out, she proceeds to tell us she'll have the store closed down because she works with the city and knows the fire marshal and we have too many people in the store. So she calls him, we tell her to leave, and nothing happens to the store. However, we called them as well to report what she'd said, and she got fired from her job for abuse of power. Working the window at McDonald's late night. Guy orders whatever and pulls up to the window. I'm cooking and handling the window, so I wasn't there when the customer pulled up. When I walked up to the window, I didn't see the fucker with trash in his lap. I opened the window to take his card/cash, and he throws a bag of trash at me. I take a step back, bothered that I just got trash thrown at me, and I watch his car speed off. I'm pissed, but there's nothing I can do. A couple seconds later I hear a small bang of metal on metal. I walk to the lobby and look out the windows. The douchebag slammed into a police cruiser who was about to loop around and use the drive-through himself. Of course I also went to tell the officer what just happened inside. More than a few decades ago I worked at Denny's. I had 2 male customers that decided to dine and dash, got their license plate number and reported it to the cops and jokingly mentioned that they didn't even tip. Later that night they got pulled over for DUI. Cops recognized license plate number from the report, brought them both back to the restaurant, and forced them to pay the bill. After he was done paying, the cop just stood there and looked at them and said, "Well." The guy sheepishly handed me my tip. Guy comes in and is being a complete asshole, not wanting to show ID to buy beer, even though he looked 20 at the oldest, constantly yelling and swearing. He also had parked in the handicap spot despite not having handicap tags or plates on his car. One of my regular customers, who is a sheriff's deputy, was also in the store. Saw how the guy was acting. Saw where he was parked. Went out, got his ticket book, and wrote the guy a ticket. Guy realized he wasn't getting his beer. Went outside to find he was getting ticketed. I could not stop laughing. I worked at a restaurant that was very popular for brunch, and Mother's Day was probably our busiest day of the year. I had a customer call the evening before and asked for a table for 6, and he was incredibly rude when I informed him that this would simply be an impossibility. He kept getting more and more worked up, asking me to speak to my manager. At first I didn't want to pass the phone over. My manager wasn't the nicest guy and we were in the middle of a busy dinner shift. But my manager came up behind me and demanded to know why I had been on the phone for so long. I was like, fuck it, this customer isn't going to listen to me anyways, and gave the phone to Mac. Mac asked how he could help, listened for about 15 seconds before telling this dude something like, "So you're tying up my hostess in the middle of dinner, even though she's already told you nicely that we can't fit you and your goddamn family in the night before our busiest day of the year. Fuck your buddy," and hung up the phone. I'm not sure if being a public defender counts as a retail or service worker, but considering that I provide criminal defense to indigent clients facing deprivation of their rights and freedom, I'll consider it service nonetheless. I was representing a scumbag client who was a massive meth head who got high and beat the hell out of her 8-year-old daughter with a belt after she accidentally broke Mama's meth pipe. She was charged with child cruelty and possession of meth, and, given her criminal record, the DA's plea offer was 3 years of prison. Needless to say, my client didn't want to go to prison for giving that cunt what she deserved and started freaking out at me when I told her that's the best offer I was going to get from the DA, and it was either accept that offer or go to trial. I further pointed out the mountain of evidence against her, primarily the photographs of her daughter's injuries, the bloody belt that was recovered from her bedroom, the broken meth pipe /meth residue in it, and the fact that her daughter was going to testify against her at trial. After she was done cursing me out, calling me a public pretender, and every other derogatory name she could think of, she fired me and somehow managed to hire a private attorney for the low price of $8,000. I still don't know how she managed to come up with that, but I have plenty of reliable guesses. The private attorney guaranteed her that he could win her case at trial, and that's exactly what she chose to do. Long story short, the private attorney clearly never even read this woman's file before trial. The trial lasted roughly 3 hours. The jury was literally out for only 5 minutes, and the judge sentenced her to 10 years of prison. It was a good day. Currently at a consignment shop. We have 2 stories of furniture, and it's only things people bringing for us to sell for some of the profit. A lady came in here with her son. He was 5 or 6, and she looked around. We had 2 bar stools and she came up to the desk and said, "I'd like to order 2 more of these bar stools." I smiled and said, "We can't do that. Those belong to someone and that's all they had to consign with us." She looks back and says, "Well, why the fuck can't you order ones like this? I'm sure you can find them online." I clench my teeth and smile again, saying, "Ma'am, we really can't do that. If you'd like to go online, you are more than welcome to look for yourself, but I can't help you and I'm sorry." She huffed and started walking to the door, talking about getting me fired, making a horrible review of this place. She then got a nice big face full of door. It's a push door, and it was locked. She looks at me and screams, "Why the fuck is this locked?" I have no idea. Then her son looks at her and says, "Mommy, you were mean to that lady and I don't wanna go till you say sorry. Best kid ever."